All right, in this section we're going to learn about rewriting formulas and equations. So we'll be taking, common formulas like area of triangles and circumference and all sorts of different things and rearrange them to solve for different variables. Um, so the first example they give us says to solve the formula c equals 2 pi r for r, then find the radius of the circle with the circumference of 44 inches. So first thing we want to do is we want to take this equation, c equals 2 pi r, and solve. And a lot of times people will have a hard time with these because there's a lot of variables and a lot of different things going on. But if you look at this, this is just 2 times pi times r. And if we're trying to isolate the r, we want to move the 2 in the pi. And anytime you want to move a multiplication to another side, you simply divide what you don't need. And we don't need the 2 pi. So I'm going to divide it to both sides. And when I do that, the 2 pi's cancel over here. And I will have r equals, and then c over 2 pi. There's nothing else you can do with that, so that is my solved form for r. And then to answer the second half of this question, it said, what is the radius when the circumference is 44? So now that we have solved for r, this should be pretty easy. So I want radius when the circumference is 44. And I could either leave this in a pi form and just say my answer is r equals 44 divided by 2, which is 22 over pi. If you wanted to get that into decimal form, I guess you could. 22 divided by pi gets you 7.0028. But I think leaving it in this form is probably your best bet. You don't have to worry about rounding. And that's all I do. Question number 2, very similar in what it's asking. It's just a different equation. This is the equation for perimeter. It says a perimeter is 2 lengths plus 2 widths, and they want you to solve for width. And then it says once you do that, what is the width when the length is 12 meters and the perimeter is 41? So same concept as the last time. We're going to take this formula 2L plus 2W, and we're going to solve for this W right here. So we need to get rid of the 2L first, and then get rid of this 2. So to get rid of a term that's being added or subtracted to the thing that you want to get rid of, you're going to do the opposite in this case, which is subtraction. And you're going to do that to both sides. The thing you want to pay attention to here is that P and L are not like terms. When you rewrite this, it's going to be P minus 2L. There's nothing you can do to that, so you just leave it separated. And then 2W, of course, is still over here. Then, just like the last problem, this is 2 times W, so to undo multiplication, we divide. So we're going to divide 2 to both sides. When I do, it cancels. And you could either leave your answer like this, W equals P minus 2L over 2, or you could actually simplify this into 2 fractions. Either way is perfectly fine, but when you do this, P is divided by 2, so you put P over 2, minus, and then 2 over 2 is 1L. So either one of these 2 forms is okay. And then the last part of the question says, what is the width when the perimeter is 41 and the length is 12? So I'm going to take that equation. I'm going to use the top one. They said P is 41 minus 2L, which was 12, over 2. And I'm just going to put that in my calculator. So do the top first. 41 minus 2 times 12 gets me 17. And then divide 17 by 2, and you'll get 8.5. All right. The last 2 questions are the ones that you'll probably deal with the most in this class. That's taking an equation that has x's and y's and solving for y, which means getting it into possibly slope-intercept form so you can graph things. But here's the first example. It says to solve 9x minus 4y, and then find y when x is negative 5. So we're going to take this equation. and we're going to solve it for y. And in this case, it's just like the perimeter problem, pretty much. We want to get rid of the 9x and the minus 4. I'm going to get rid of the 9x first by subtracting it to both sides. And when I do that, be careful, there is a negative left with this 4y. And then 7 minus 9x. Right now, I'm really not that concerned with getting it in slope-intercept form, but I do like to, keep things nice and clean here. So I'm going to put my negative 9x first, and then the positive second come next. And then the last and final step, just like the perimeter problem, get rid of this negative 4 by dividing it to both sides. You do that, they cancel, and you get y equals, and you could leave your answer like this if you wanted to. That's perfectly fine for right now. Later on we'll want to simplify it, or you could say negative 9 divided by negative 4 is positive 9/4 x, and then 7 divided by negative 4 is just negative 7/4. Either way is fine. The last step is just like the last problem. You're going to plug negative 5 into this x. I'm going to use the top equation because it's less fraction to work with. So it's going to be negative 9 times negative 5 plus 7 over negative 4. And then just put in the calculator. Your answer is negative 13. Alright, last one, probably the hardest one, and one that people struggle with the most, is this one here. It says solve 2y plus xy equals 6 for y. And the reason why this one's tougher is because if you notice, both of these terms have y's, but they're not like terms. So you can't just add these together. You can't move things from one side to the other. What you want to do is you want to try to get these two y's to come out and become 1. And I'm not real sure why they do this before factoring, but if you think about this as the opposite of the distributive property, y is being multiplied to both of these terms. So if I take that y out, what's left inside is going to be just the 2 and then the plus x. And if you were to kind of work your way backwards here, if you were to distribute the y, you would get y times 2, which is 2y. Y times x, which is xy, which is the same thing. So now the main thing is just getting rid of that 2 plus x. You want to get this y by itself. This is multiplication again. So to undo multiplication, you're going to divide by what you don't want, which is the 2 plus x. So your answer is y equals 6 over 2 plus x. And don't make the mistake of trying to divide 6 and 2 to get 3. This 6 is being divided by the entire 2 plus x, not just the 2. So this is your final answer for the solution. And then, of course, they want you to find y when x is negative 3. So now plug in negative 3. And you get 6 over negative 1. 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1, so 6 divided by negative 1 is negative 6.